everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we need to talk about something super important. Seriously, I have to say it 3 times because this could make or break your next international trip right from the get-go. Do you consider yourself a seasoned traveler flying multiple times a year? You probably think you're a pro who knows exactly what you can and can't pack. Power banks go in your carry-on, not checked bags. Liquids must be under 100 milli. We've all heard these rules so many times we could recite them in our sleep, right? Well, I'm here to tell you a harsh truth. A lot of what you think is common knowledge might be totally outdated. Especially as we're in 2025, global aviation security standards have quietly received a major upgrade. Many little things that used to be in a gray area, the things you might have snuck through before, are now on a strict non-negotiable blacklist. How do I know all this? The other day I was grabbing coffee with a friend who's a senior flight attendant with Air Canada. She's been flying for over 15 years, and she was telling me about the sheer variety of items she's seen confiscated by KTSA, the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority, lately. So many travelers are caught completely off guard saying, "Wow, but I've always traveled with this." The result, at best, the item gets taken away. At worst, they get pulled aside for questioning, risk missing their flight, and start their entire vacation feeling stressed and frustrated. So today I've got the inside scoop directly from her. I've compiled the ultimate 2025 list of surprising items you can't bring on a plane. These 9 things are incredibly common in our daily lives, and because they're so familiar, they're the easiest traps to fall into at the airport. Before we reveal these top 9 travel blunders, if you want to keep receiving insider tips that save you time, money, and hassle on your travels, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our future videos. All right, no more waiting. Grab a notebook and let's get started. 1. The deceptively simple power bank. Let's start with the one thing none of us can travel without, our power bank. I know what you're thinking. I know this one. Power banks can't be checked in. They have to be in my carry-on. You're right, that's the basic rule. But in 2025, the devil is in the details. CATSA officers are now looking beyond just how many you have. They're intensely focused on the specifications printed on the device. What does that mean? Every power bank has its capacity printed on it, either in watt hours, WH, or at least with voltage, V, and milliamp hours, MA. According to international regulations, any power bank over 160 kWh is generally forbidden on passenger flights. Those between 100 kWh and 160 kWh require special approval from the airline, and you're usually limited to 2 per person. For anything under 100 kWh, carrying a couple for personal use is fine. But here's the 2025 catch, and where security has gotten much stricter. If the markings on your power bank are worn down and unreadable from use, or if you bought a cheap, unbranded one with no specifications printed on it at all, it will be confiscated. It doesn't matter what its actual capacity is. The screening officer has the right to deem it an unmarked, potentially hazardous item and make you toss it in the disposal bin. My flight attendant friend told me she saw a young guy heading from Toronto to Vancouver for a gaming convention. He had a really cool limited edition power bank. The problem? A sticker was covering the specs and he couldn't peel it off. The KTSA agent was firm. "Sir, if I can't read the specifications, I can't let it through." The guy was sweating, explaining it was an expensive collectible, but rules are rules. He had to say a painful goodbye to his power bank. My advice: before you travel, check your power bank. If the label is faded, either buy a new one or put a piece of clear tape over the specs to protect them. Don't let a dead phone battery ruin your trip just to save a few bucks on a new power bank. 2. The expanding definition of liquids. Everyone knows the 100 ml rule and the clear, resealable 1-liter bag. But do you really know what counts as a liquid? This is the second major pitfall. Screening officers are now applying a much broader and stricter definition to liquids, gels, and aerosols. So many things you might assume are solid are seen as gels by the X-ray machine. Some classic Canadian examples: that jar of delicious maple butter from your local market, your grandma's homemade Niagara peach jam, or that container of poutine sauce you wanted to bring to a friend. They may seem paste-like, but because they don't hold a fixed shape, they are all classified as gels and must follow the 100 ml rule. My friend saw a woman trying to bring a large container of homemade kimchi to her son studying at UBC. She was smart and drained all the liquid, thinking that would solve the problem. But it was still flagged. The woman insisted, "There's no water, it's solid cabbage." The agent had to patiently explain that under scanners, pickled items like kimchi are considered gel-like, and any container larger than 100 milliliters has to be checked. And she had to throw the entire jar away looking heartbroken. This category also includes things like toothpaste, lotions, hand creams, pudding, yogurt, and even solid-looking items like lipstick and deodorant sticks. Chia. And here's a real shocker. Frozen foods. Let's say you're packing frozen tortilla or pierogies thinking it's frozen solid, so it's not a liquid. Wrong. KDSA assumes it could melt during the flight and treats it as a liquid. The new rule of thumb, if you can squeeze it, spread it, or if it might melt at room temperature, treat it like a liquid. Either put it in a travel-sized container under 100 ml or pack it securely in your checked luggage. Don't argue with the screening officer's judgment. 3. Self-heating products. This is a relatively new and popular item, which is why it's become a new security focus: self-heating products. The most common examples are self-heating hot pots, rice bowls, or soups. They're incredibly convenient. Just add water to a chemical pack and you have a hot meal without fire or electricity. However, as of 2025, virtually all global airlines, including Air Canada, have banned all forms of self-heating products from both carry-on and checked baggage. 3. We have no exceptions. Why? The heating pack contains chemicals like quicklime, iron powder, and activated charcoal. When mixed with water, they generate intense heat up to 150 degrees and a large amount of steam in a short time. Imagine that happening in the pressurized confined space of an aircraft's cargo hold. If a package is accidentally activated by a bump or a leak, the risk of fire is extremely high. This isn't a joke. There have been real incidents where these products were triggered in the cargo hold, setting off fire alarms and forcing flights to make emergency landings. This ban doesn't just apply to meals. Winter hand warmers, which work on a similar principle, are also increasingly discouraged in checked luggage. It's recommended to carry only a small quantity for personal use in your carry-on. Additionally, rechargeable electric hot water bottles or hand warmers are often banned from checked bags due to their liquid content and potential for short-circuiting. The principle is simple: if it heats itself, leave it at home. There are safer ways to get a hot meal on your travels. 4. High-powered magnets. This one might sound like something out of a movie, but it's a real concern: strong magnets. You might wonder who travels with magnets. The answer is more people than you think. Many modern products, from smartphone holders and toys to certain types of jewelry and alternative health products, use extremely powerful neodymium magnets. Why are airlines worried about these? An aircraft's cockpit is filled with sensitive instruments, most critically the attitude indicator and magnetic compass. These instruments rely on the Earth's magnetic field to determine the plane's direction and orientation. If a powerful, unshielded magnet is in the cargo hold near the cockpit, there's a small but real chance it could interfere with the navigation systems. While planes have multiple backup systems, aviation safety is all about eliminating every conceivable risk. Therefore, any magnet that is too strong and not properly shielded is banned from both carry-on and checked luggage. How do you know if your magnet is too strong? The soft, flexible ones on your fridge are fine, but if you have industrial-grade magnets or powerful ones taken from professional equipment, be very cautious. I heard a story about an engineer whose suitcase contained a product model held together by several powerful magnets. When he was checking in, the ground staff noticed his suitcase kept sticking to the metal counter. He was immediately asked to remove the model as it was deemed a flight hazard. When you're packing, give it a quick thought. Are you carrying anything with an unusually strong magnetic force, like special souvenirs or professional tools? If you're not sure, it's best to leave it behind or consult the airline beforehand. Smart luggage. Smart luggage is incredibly cool. It can weigh itself, track its location via GPS, and even charge your phone like a giant power bank. It sounds like the ultimate travel companion, but it could also be the very thing that prevents you from boarding. The problem, once again, is the lithium-ion battery. As we've established, these batteries must be carried in the cabin. So, what happens if you need to check your smart luggage? According to the latest regulations, if you check in a smart bag, The lithium-ion battery must be removable. You have to take it out and bring it with you into the cabin. If the battery is built in and cannot be removed, that piece of luggage cannot fly. Period. It can't be checked in because of the battery. And it usually can't be a carry-on because it's too large and heavy. So, in a 2025 airport, a smart bag with a non-removable battery has only one fate: being left behind. It's an expensive lesson to learn. My flight attendant friend said her airline sent out a specific memo for ground staff to watch for these bags. She saw a business traveler with a very expensive-looking smart suitcase try to check in. The agent asked about the battery, and it was non-removable. The man's face fell. He had a major presentation the next week, and all his materials were inside. The agent could only apologize and say it was a non-negotiable safety rule. The man ended up frantically buying a cheap suitcase at an airport store and repacking all his belongings in the middle of the busy check-in area. The takeaway: if you own or are planning to buy a smart suitcase, make absolutely sure the battery is easily removable. Otherwise, your smart travel partner will become a very foolish obstacle. 6. Any and all meat products. This is a painful one for many travelers, especially those who love to bring a taste of home with them. A comforting snack of beef jerky or pepperoni sticks can be a lifesaver on a long trip. But be warned, in 2025, countries around the world, especially Canada, the US, Australia, and the EU, are stricter than ever about preventing the spread of animal diseases like avian influenza and African swine fever. You might think, but it's processed, not raw meat. The problem lies in the fact that many of these products are still considered potential carriers of disease. When it comes to customs, most countries prohibit bringing in any food containing meat unless it is commercially prepared and sealed in a container like a can or jar. And even then, there are limits. Fresh, dried, and cured meats like sausages and hams are generally not allowed. Filmed at major Canadian airports like Toronto Pearson, YYZ, and Vancouver International, YVR, have highly trained sniffer dogs. Their noses are more powerful than any X-ray machine. If there's even a faint smell of meat in your bag, they will find it. Once you're flagged, you'll be pulled aside for a full baggage inspection. What happens if they find it? At a minimum, the item will be confiscated and destroyed, and you'll get a note on your customs record, meaning you'll likely face extra scrutiny every time you enter the country. And in a worst-case scenario, you could face hefty fines. The same rule applies to any food product containing meat, like certain instant noodles with real meat chunks, meat floss, or jerky. Don't try to challenge the Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, and their Beagle Brigade. It's a battle you will lose. 7. Disguised knives. We all know not to bring knives on a plane, but some people carry items that look harmless but are actually concealed blades. The most common examples are credit card-shaped knives that fit in a wallet, or knives disguised as keys, combs, or even pens. And in the past, these might have slipped through less rigorous security checks. But with today's advanced screening technology, that's no longer the case. The new scanners can detect differences in the density and shape of materials. That metal card in your wallet looks very different from an actual credit card on the screen and will immediately trigger an alert. If a CATSA agent finds one of these in your carry-on, the situation is far more serious than accidentally packing a bottle of shampoo that's over 100 ml. The latter is a simple mistake. The former can be interpreted as an intentional attempt to bring a weapon on board. This is a potential criminal act. You will likely be escorted away by airport police for questioning. They will investigate your intent, and even if you can prove you meant no harm and just thought it was a cool gadget, you will have already missed your flight and may be flagged as a high-risk traveler in security systems. So please, before you leave for the airport, double-check your wallet, keychain, backpack, and any multi-tools. Make sure you don't have any hidden blades. If you need a knife on your trip, buy a simple fruit knife at a local store when you arrive. It's much safer than carrying a prohibited item onto a plane. 8. Long, stick-like objects. This is an easy one for outdoor enthusiasts and photographers to overlook. This category is broad and includes trekking poles, professional camera tripods, large selfie sticks, and even fishing rods. Many people think, I'm not going to hit anyone with it, so why is it a problem? The airline's rationale is that while these items aren't weapons themselves, they could potentially be used as one in a worst-case scenario. Therefore, there are strict limits on the length of any stick-like object allowed in the cabin. The exact standard varies by airline, but generally any item that is longer than 25-30 centimeters, about 10-12 inches, when fully collapsed, will likely be banned from your carry-on and must be checked. Heavy-duty professional trekking poles and camera tripods are almost guaranteed to be stopped. A friend of mine who loves hiking learned this the hard way. He was flying from Calgary to Vancouver Island to hike the West Coast Trail and wanted to keep his expensive trekking poles with him. At security, the Kaatase agent measured them. Even fully collapsed, they were 60 centimeters long, way over the limit. He had to go back and check them. The problem was, he hadn't paid for a checked bag. The cost to add one at the last minute was outrageous. He ended up giving his brand new carbon fiber poles to an airport janitor. He was gutted. The 2025 pro tip: before you pack any pole-like object, measure it. If it's longer than a standard sheet of paper, when collapsed, don't even think about it. Pack it in your checked luggage. 9. Powders. This rule has been around for a little while, but is still not widely known, making it one of the easiest traps to fall into in 2025. I'm talking about powders. Yes, you heard me right. Powders. Following the lead of the U.S. Transportation Security Administration, TSA, many countries, including Canada, now have restrictions on powders, especially on flights to the U.S. Here's the rule. If you are carrying a powder-like substance in a volume greater than 350 millimoles, about the size of a standard soda can, it is not allowed in your carry-on and must be placed in your checked baggage. 9. What counts as a powder? The list is broader than you might think. It includes obvious things like protein powder, coffee grounds, and flour, but also baby powder, cosmetic setting powder, and even spices like salt and pepper. No, why the restriction? In some terrorist plots, explosives were made from mixing different powders. It's very difficult for an X-ray machine to quickly distinguish between your protein powder and a dangerous chemical. So to be safe, they now restrict the total volume. The new mindset you need: powders are the new liquids. If you need to bring more than 350 mLs of any powder, check it in. If you absolutely need it in your carry-on, like baby formula, bring only what you need for the flight and keep it in its original packaging for easier inspection. So there you have it, the top 9 common items that could get you in trouble at the airport in 2025. I know the rules seem endless and complicated, but they all exist to ensure every flight is a safe one. Spending 5 extra minutes checking your bag at home is far better than wasting an hour or two at security and starting your trip on the wrong foot. Here's my ultimate golden rule for you. If you're not sure if you can bring it, just don't. Or better yet, check the official websites of both your airline and the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority, KTSA. Their information will always be the most up-to-date and accurate. So I hope this video was helpful. Have you ever had a weird or unexpected item confiscated at the airport? Share your story in the comments below to help others avoid the same mistake. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone you know who's planning a trip. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next video. Cheers.